Hello, welcome back. Today I really want to dive into simple strategies utilizing food and lifestyle, heavy on the lifestyle, that's going to address keeping your energy levels stable. It's November right now. We're just about to dive really deep into holiday season. Most people experience a lot more stress during this time, and there's a lot more stress and anxiety around food during this time, especially for those that have health goals and want to feel better. And while of course food is a huge piece of the puzzle, at the end of this video I have a resource for you guys. I'm going to break down the fridge macros and mineral cheat sheet that I have to help you with this piece. But there's so much more you can do to increase your energy levels without just focusing so heavy on food. So stick around to the end. I'm going to get you the resource to help with this. But first, I really want to recap something that I've been talking about in a lot of videos lately. So please go revisit those. But essentially why blood sugar balance matters so much. So when your blood sugar spikes, the body is going to release insulin to bring it back down. And if that spike, which our blood sugar normally does increase after we eat, that's very normal. But when we get really intense spikes, they're often followed by these crashes. And the crashes are what really make you feel tired, cranky. You're more likely to then crave the sweets and the caffeine to get you through the day. And this is actually super relevant during the holiday season, because what I find more often than not is that more women are moody, anxious, exhausted during this time, when all we really want to do is have fun and be with our loved ones and enjoy this time of year and be really happy and have the energy to do all of these things. So over time, when we get these big blood sugar spikes and crashes, it's going to lead to more insulin resistance, and that insulin resistance is going to cause an issue with a lot of fatigue, a lot of metabolism issues. You're probably going to struggle with weight gain, and that's going to be such a huge focus on the holiday season, which really don't want that for you. And then also we do get into hormone suppression and things like that when our blood sugar is super erratic. But the interesting thing about all of this and blood sugar is that other lifestyle factors really have a major impact on your blood sugar and then your overall energy levels throughout the day. So it isn't always just about food. I'm still going to go over food strategies today, but most people, what I find is they try to overly restrict themselves even more during the holidays, because it's the belief that food is kind of the end all be all when we're trying to be healthy or feel our best. And I see a lot of women saving their sugar or restricting so that they can overindulge during the parties, which really leads to those crazy blood sugar spikes, an overall indulgence in those things. And by the end of December, you're finding yourself on this all too familiar path of New Year resolutions that never pan out. And it's just really annoying and frustrating. And so I want to prevent that. At the beginning of November, we're going to talk about strategies, lifestyle and food to prevent this cycle. So first, let's start with the lifestyle strategies that are going to prevent or save you from the cycle of the holidays to New Year's resolutions that never work out. So number one, really important thing that I want you guys to remember is it's winter time, which means just by design, we tend to be more insulin resistant during this time. Blood sugar balance is harder to maintain just by design. The days are shorter, which greatly impacts our bodies on a biological cellular level, and our sensitivity to insulin. So just to start, vitamin D's role in insulin sensitivity. Sunlight is our primary source of vitamin D, and it actually does regulate insulin sensitivity. So during the winter months when there's less sunlight, it can sometimes lead to lower vitamin D levels. And I'm going to talk about sunlight a little bit more specifically as one of the strategies. So we're going to circle back to that. But actually not getting enough vitamin D from the sun can make your cells less responsive to insulin, and increase that insulin resistance during this time, creating more of an energy issue, more fatigue, more immune issues, more just generally feeling really not so great during this holiday season, slowing down metabolism, etc. One of the things that these longer nights, shorter days does is there's a big impact on melatonin. So we do have higher levels of melatonin for longer periods of time because we have these longer night periods of time. So that further interferes with our insulin sensitivity. So winter daylights reduce, it causes this shift in our cortisol and melatonin patterns, which impacts glucose metabolism, how our body actually utilizes sugar or glucose for energy. And then throw on top of that seasonal stress, changes in routines, cold-induced stress. Some of us really hate the cold, which it can elevate cortisol, which can raise blood sugar levels and make cells more insulin resistant. So biologically speaking, winter should really be a time of rest, and yet right in the middle of this season is our busiest time of year. So we really do become more insulin resistant. There's less sunlight, the days are shorter, we have more going on, more stress. It's really messing with our cortisol levels, which impacts our metabolism. It impacts how our body actually gets energy and utilizes that glucose efficiently, can lead to more insulin, which stores more fat, so on and so forth. So it's really important that we remember that. Winter is actually a God-given gift of rest, and we do not capitalize on that. So as we walk through these different lifestyle strategies, keep that in mind. We are in a little bit of a disadvantage at winter time during this super, super busy time of year. So first things first, tip number 1, please sleep more. Winter, the longer nights, that's actually enticing you to sleep more. If you are not getting enough quality sleep, it will make your cells more insulin resistant. And during winter months, our body has more melatonin, wants more sleep, more rest. So if you are more insulin resistant because you are not sleeping enough, you are going to automatically have higher blood sugar levels the next day, regardless of how you eat. Even if you eat the most perfect diet. So you want to aim for that 8 to 9 hours of good interrupted sleep for both your metabolism, your hunger hormones, your blood sugar, etc. One really important thing that happens at night that no one talks about is we have these two hunger hormones. We have ghrelin and we have leptin. And I go into details about these two hormones in other videos, so I won't do that here. But what I do want you to understand is leptin, which actually tells us when we're full. It's our hunger hormone that cues fullness. It is super important for metabolism and how our body gets the energy from the food that we're eating. So if your energy is low, this is really important. You want to listen up. In the middle of the night, when your melatonin is at its highest points, when we're in our deepest point of sleep, which is usually around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, that essentially we get a docking of our leptin, and it downloads how much energy we have stored on our body fat. It basically reads, hey, this is how much energy we have, so I can set up your hunger hormones the next day to respond efficiently. I'll tell you when you're full based on how much energy I believe you have stored on your body. If that download doesn't happen because you're not going to bed until midnight, or because you have erratic sleep patterns, or you're waking up constantly because you're so stressed and your cortisol is out of control, all of these things that does not allow melatonin to peak when it should peak and have that download of information happen, your next day, your hunger cues, your metabolic function is going to be completely off. And now we do that over a long period of time. You can start to see why we struggle so much with insulin resistance, blood sugar, how to eat, when we're hungry, not hungry, how we can overeat, right? Because that download of information isn't happening. So sleep is so important for this. So optimizing sleep in the winter, if you do nothing else, number one tip, okay? Second thing that we want to do is really kind of try to understand our cortisol levels a little bit better. We're going to talk about stress. It's a stressful time of year, okay? This tends to be the most stressful time of year for a lot of people. When we're stressed, our body releases cortisol, that stress hormone that's going to raise blood sugar and give you that energy if you needed to fight or flight for survival mode, right? The problem is that most of us are so stressed all the time, especially in November, December, that cortisol is chronically high, which means that you're going to spike your blood sugar even if you haven't eaten anything. Again, away from foods. We got sleep and we got stress. Two separate things have nothing to do with what you're eating that can really impact your energy levels and your blood sugar and then your metabolism and all of those things. So really getting a handle on your stress is so important, especially right now. So morning breathing exercises, even if you have a busy day, finding time to breathe so that you get out of that sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. We have to tap into our parasympathetic nervous system to get that rest, digest, and kind of mitigate that cortisol from being high all day, every single day. So breathing exercises are great. They don't take a lot of time. You can do 3 minutes of it right away in the morning when you wake up, and it's a great tool to utilize. Event limitations, especially during the holidays. Set boundaries for yourself that you will follow. Saying no when you don't have the capacity and you really want to say no. Setting limitations on events and how many you're going to do. Setting a hard stop. One thing I do, I set a hard stop at sunset during the week. So if there's extra events, I get it. Some things happen on like a Thursday or a Wednesday, and this is just what works best for me. Probably not going to go unless it's something like there's one that I really want to do, but I'm going to save that more for family time, whatever, on the weekend. So I have hard stops during my week. You have to figure out what works for you as far as setting boundaries, but limiting the amount of pressure that we put on ourselves during this time of year is super important. We have to not allow cortisol to just run amok all day, every day. Another really great tool is walking outside, okay, even when it's cold. And this kind of brings me into my next tip, which is sunlight, which I talked about at the very beginning. There's less of it during the winter months, but that does not mean that it's not still important. We forget as the days get shorter and colder that we need that sun signaling. It's still just as important even when the weather changes. That sunlight, both in the morning and in the afternoon, are so important for every hormone in your body. Sunlight in the morning is a little bit different, supports different processes than sunlight in the afternoon, which is mainly going to be your source of vitamin D, but we need to spend time outside even in the winter months. And what ends up happening is we create artificial environments for ourselves indoors with artificial light that is not mimicking the sun and our sun's patterns, which really messes with our circadian rhythm, which is that cortisol melatonin balance that should be happening throughout the day. So cortisol then remains high. We get all of those downstream effects of blood sugar, energy loss, so on and so forth. So just because the weather has changed and the days get shorter, we still need to be prioritizing that time outside and out of our artificial environment. So bundle up if you need to, get outside, get some sun every single day. I like to encourage morning sun, even if it's for a couple of minutes, and afternoon sun, noon sun, when you can get some good vitamin D levels would be ideal. And again, 5 minutes is better than nothing. So just get outside and get some sun. And even when it's cloudy, get outside. It's still the same benefit to you to do that. Okay, so that's the 3 lifestyle tips I want you to focus on going into the next 2 months of holiday season. We want to still get sun. We want to sleep better. And more importantly, this isn't about getting 8 hours of sleep because you went to bed at midnight and you woke up at 8. This is about getting to sleep at 9:30, 10 and waking up at 6, if that's 8 hours, because of that docking specifically that happens when your melatonin is at its highest point of the night, which is usually around midnight, 1 a.m. We want that. We need that for our metabolic function, our hunger cues, our hormones for the following day. That's the important difference. And if you wait too long before you're going to bed, we're really messing with stuff. The sun sets so much earlier. We actually should be in bed earlier in order to get that melatonin peak and get that benefit during that time. So with sleep, it's so much more important. And then stress, try to set some limitations and boundaries this holiday season. If you've never done that, start small, but it's so important. And you'll see great benefit to your energy, mood, anxiety, stress, all of those things when you start to do that for yourself. Okay. Obviously, food is a big part of this puzzle, so I do want to give you guys strategies going into the holiday season around food, because this does matter and it is a big piece of the puzzle for energy, mood, anxiety, stress, etc. So we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit more about food, because what you eat still matters. But I have 2 resources for you. First one that I created is a Fridge Macros cheat sheet. So this is actually designed to help you create balanced, blood sugar friendly meals without having to overthink it, especially being in a busy season. Excuse me. So you just need to pick, there's columns set out, there's great sources of protein, carbs, healthy fats, veggies, and you just pick one from each column based on what you have in the refrigerator or in your cabinets, and there's no thought process needed. You'll have created a balanced meal with what you have. And that's how we want to continue to build our meals moving forward. Big meals moving forward in order to support blood sugar so we're not getting spikes and drops throughout the day. So, for example, a balanced breakfast could be eggs for your protein, avocado for your fat, and then a sweet potato for your carbs, or regular potatoes, because I feel like those go better at breakfast time, but up to you. But that's going to keep your blood sugar steady. You're going to get a nice rise in insulin, obviously, to help utilize that food, but then that fall, that crash isn't going to happen. So you're not going to get that big energy dip. You're not going to get that constant cortisol release to try to get your blood sugar back up. So nice steady fall that maintains your energy for longer periods of time. So focusing on those things first with that Fridge Macros and those combos that you can create with what you have in your home right now. There are so many options. I gave so many options that it's important to look at all of those. So that's going to prevent the afternoon crashes, cravings, caffeine, the under eating, everything that happens during this time, and you're going to feel so much better. And then there's something else that a lot of people don't realize, which is that minerals are crucial for the body's metabolic process. So they are so important for blood sugar regulation, hormone production, overall cellular function. Minerals are at the crux of all of this, and they have so many cofactors, enzymes, and they facilitate these chemical reactions in the body that actually are the reason energy production happens. So it's extremely important that we understand how minerals and what we're taking in through our food are impacting our blood sugar, our nervous system, our energy production. And there are key minerals like magnesium, potassium, calcium, and zinc, which have a high role in regulating blood sugar, hormone function, metabolism, etc. So I'm going to break down a few of these for you. And then along with that Fridge Macros, you're going to get a cheat sheet for these too, so you know exactly what foods you should be eating to cover your bases with these 4 main minerals that I see we need more of to help with this blood sugar balance, energy, sustainable energy throughout the day. So first one is magnesium. You've probably heard a ton about it, but its main role, it's a key player in regulating insulin sensitivity. So it helps the body actually process glucose efficiently. So if you're deficient in magnesium, that's a big problem for your blood sugar. It's also involved in over 300 other biochemical reactions in the body, including ATP production, which is how your body's main energy source, so creating that energy source for your body. So without enough magnesium, your cells struggle to convert that glucose into usable energy. So important. Deficiency, usually the main reasons I see women are deficient in magnesium is high levels of stress. Stress depletes magnesium first. It uses our magnesium up so quickly. So that's a big one. Excess sugar, caffeine, and fluoride. Fluoride in our water is a big magnesium depleter. Fluoride in your toothpaste. Fluoride is a big, cutting that out can be huge for magnesium loss. Same thing with caffeine. If you're experiencing a lot of magnesium loss or a lot of the signs of deficiency, which I'm going to go through, probably want to look at your caffeine intake. So again, those are the big things that I see for magnesium. There's also things like birth control, diuretics. They can all lead to magnesium deficiencies as well. If you're deficient, you're going to be experiencing fatigue, muscle cramps, sleep disturbances, insulin resistance, and blood sugar imbalances. So big spikes and crashes. You're probably going to get hangry a lot more often, headaches, dizziness, things of that nature, all signs of magnesium deficiency. Sources of magnesium, and again, this is all on the cheat sheet: leafy greens, avocados, dark chocolate. Those are probably the three main ones. And then we're going to move on to potassium. So potassium actually helps to maintain electrolyte imbalance. Every single cell in your body has an electrolyte balance, but it's specifically potassium and sodium pump that get nutrients and the things that your cells need in and out. Okay, so very, very, very important. It also is super important because it supports insulin secretion. So we need that insulin to help shuttle the glucose into the cells. But if we don't have enough potassium to do that, we definitely are affecting how energy is used and stored. So it's really important. We get deficiencies because of sodium excess, which isn't necessarily from the food that we're eating. This is stress induced. So yes, through food, of course, but also sodium is elevated in times of stress. So when cortisol is high, when stress hormones are high, and that will deplete potassium as well. And then things like diuretics, low carb diets, because a lot of potassium sources are actually in carbohydrates. So when I see women cutting those out, I get very nervous. And then obviously stress. Signs of deficiency here: fatigue, muscle weakness, irregular heartbeats. Potassium is also very important for your heart. Blood sugar instability, thyroid issues. Potassium is extremely important for thyroid hormone and also helps sensitize the cells to thyroid hormones. So it has a big role in your metabolism as well. And if you're struggling with your thyroid, potassium is one you really want to look towards increasing in your diet. So your sources of potassium are going to be bananas, potatoes with skin, avocados, beans, squashes, dried apricots, yogurt. Again, these are all on your cheat sheet, but really great options for food. Okay, calcium. Calcium is not just for bones. Calcium is actually essential for every single muscle contraction in your body, hormone secretion, and it's also another regulator of insulin. So calcium actually supports insulin's effectiveness. It ensures that the proper communication between cells is happening. So we see deficiencies a lot because people have cut out calcium-rich foods, which is really unfortunate, and because people are spending more time indoors and not outside, because poor vitamin D's main job is for you to absorb the calcium from the food that you're eating, which is why vitamin D is so important for insulin sensitivity. And when we're not spending enough time outside, that's definitely going to affect our calcium levels. The other thing is long-term stress. With chronic stress, we see calcium levels deplete quite a bit. So big thing here with calcium, signs of deficiency here are going to be muscle cramps, fatigue, irregular heart rhythms, bone issues, bone loss, bone spurs. Also, there's more we can go in with calcium, but we see calcium be an issue with thyroid issues as well, with anxiety. When you're super depleted in calcium, we see a lot more anxiety issues, things of that nature. So sources for this are going to be dairy products, which is the thing that most people cut out, leafy greens, bone broths, salmon, sardines, and actually whey protein is a great source of calcium as well if that's something that you are using. The last one that we want to talk about is zinc. And zinc, probably everyone's heard of zinc and thinks it's the greatest thing ever, and it is, but it's not also something we want to go and supplement. And I can talk about that in another video. I won't go into details here, but not something we want to get from supplementation. And it is actually very easy to get zinc from your diet if you're eating enough protein. So zinc actually plays a role in the synthesis and release of insulin. And then it also is going to support your hormone production, your immune function, and it helps maintain the balance of energy metabolism. So again, that balance being how to efficiently utilize the glucose that you are taking in, that energy source that we need for the body to operate optimally. So zinc's really important for that balance. Deficiency causes are usually due to the gut. So when you have a leaky gut, a gut that has a lot of dysbiosis or imbalances, IBS, things that are causing a lot of diarrhea, we see a lot of zinc deficiency. Stress is another big one because once we burn through magnesium and potassium, zinc is next in line to become to basically get used up, and we become depleted. And then over time, chronic illness we see can deplete zinc as well quite effectively. So signs of deficiency with zinc are going to be a weakened immune system, slow wound healing, hair loss, again, any blood sugar issues, thyroid issues, things of that nature. We're going to look at your zinc levels. And then sources of this, shellfish, especially oysters, are great. Red meat, really all meat. Red meat has a little bit more, but all meat, this is where protein is really important. Zinc, you're going to get your zinc requirements met if you're eating enough protein, so it's really important. On a side note from all of this too, minerals like the magnesium, potassium, they're actually calcium. They're essential for calming the nervous system. So if you're having issues with your cortisol remaining really elevated and you can't get those back down, or you're feeling stressed all the time, or you can't sit still, your anxiety is through the roof. A lot of the times these deficiencies are the reason why you can't seem to get that under control. And they'll further disrupt your blood sugar and metabolism issues and lead to this huge energy loss. So again, the fridge macros, the mineral cheat sheet, this is why I created all of this, to make this really easy. You can put it up on your fridge. Remember how to get the sources of these things. Put the list of foods that I mentioned for these 4 minerals, put them on your grocery list every week. Try to get them in on a weekly basis, and you're going to be covering all of this along with just having good balanced meals. So this is the place to start with food, and utilizing the cheat sheets throughout the holidays to help maintain these things are going to maintain your energy levels as well, which is what we really want. So remember the 3 lifestyle tips. Download the free resource for minerals and your fridge macros to help you create really easy meals throughout the holidays. And when you're ready, we're here for you. This is a perfect tool for you to keep things in check through the holiday season without focusing on the restriction of it all. I wouldn't focus on that at all. I just focus on different things and habits that you can add in during the holiday season that are going to help support you. So you'll find the link, the download link in the description below. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified when new videos come up, and I will see you next time.